Welcome, I'm Chris Colombo. This is Taking Action, its very first episode. We'll be talking to my dear friend Abe Hoch, which you're going to find completely interesting. His life and what he's done is unparalleled. The show is going to cover sports, how to do sports, how to bet sports, and basically how to have fun. Let's get it going. Welcome to Taking Action. This is our first show that we're broadcasting to you. I consider it our show, not my show. So we're going to spend some time together. Taking Action. I am Chris Colombo. We are broadcasting the house of Joseph Colombo. I am his youngest son. And throughout the show, you will hear a lot of his opinions through me and the way he was and the way he is now, wherever he is, which is a good place. Also, I was considered one of the largest bookmakers in the world, if not one of the most profitable bookmakers in the world, and hailed as one of the smartest ones. The purpose of the show is multi-dimensional and has different facets to it. We're going to meet some old friends with great stories. We're going to have some great life lessons, what I played with my blood, sweat, and tears. Hopefully you'll avoid. But the best thing I can give to you is, as a bookmaker, the insight into gambling. As a bookmaker, you see a lot of things that you don't understand. Legalized gambling, I could never talk about when I was doing it because you go to jail for it. So I can now express the knowledge and the things I had to pass on. My motivation for that is, since they legalized it, I watched my son and his friends of the younger generation, which I believe the older people always giving up on them, but I think they have an obligation to help them along. So I'm going to show you that you don't have to lose bookmaking. You can make smart decisions. Decisions is a science. It's based on the line. Doesn't matter who wins or loses. It's by how much you win or how much you lose. Unless you're in the money line, there's some pitfalls the way they're doing it. I'll show you what to stay away from and the science. And I'm going to give you some picks. They're not going to be as frequent as you like, but they are rock solid because all things have to be in line before I would put my money on a game. I think you're going to find it interesting, entertaining. When it stops being fun, stop doing it is my philosophy. It should be yours too. Gambling is fun. It's great. It's exciting. It gives us, like, we feel we're actually, the players are playing for us, and gives us an attachment to them, and that's a good feeling. And if I can manage to make you a winner or a significant winner by the end of seasons, that's my job, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm not just going to give you the picks. I'm going to explain to you why. I'm going to have interaction with you on the picks and your thoughts, and I may learn from you also. We never know too much not to learn, and that's why I was successful. A smart bookmaker doesn't realize what he knows, it's what he doesn't know. I'm excited to do the show. I started my career as a bookmaker at a fairly young age. It's not like you take an SAT and it comes back best suited occupation bookmaker. I believe it was in 1980, early in 1980. I had a restaurant and I was working in the union. I was a shop steward, and I liked the labor movement. I was moving up to the district council, and a friend of mine had asked me, could I help him get into a bookmaking operation. Those days, you got a half sheet, quarter sheet, depending on how many players you had. So you had 10 players, you qualified for half sheet. Operations were already in the things, because to open an office is significant. And it was a wire room with phones and boards. You would call in, your guys would call in with codes because it was illegal. You couldn't use your right name. So I introduced him to an office with myself. And that was the only way to be able to have people betting, is to have an introduction and be vouched for. And he asked me to do that. And how a half sheet works, you say your guys win 10,000, the office would give you the 10,000. Finally, you could say they lose 20. You pay them back the 10, and you would split 5 each. They would correct the work, be there to post the lines. And that was what was important. The quality of the office you were with was very important, because it would dictate, them knowing what they're doing and to be able to earn monies. So a friend of mine had come to me at a sports bar where we used to hang out, fine young man, and asked me, can I introduce him to an office? I said, no, but I will be the go-between. So I went to an office. They told me it was the best in the city. I did some research. I met a gentleman, and he said to me, he says, you're Joe Colombo's son? I says, yes. He says, give him whatever he wants. So now you would call and you would have codes like 100 for Ghost, 101 for Ghost. That was my code. They call me Ghost because every time the cops came to get my office here, I wasn't there. They said I was a ghost. But in this particular case, we used my code. And you had limits that you were allowed to bet, not to bury them, whatever. But at this point, you had a lot of numbers at your access, and you could get a lot of bettors, but you had to make sure they could pay or had the ability to pay, or you did not push them too far. So I didn't pay much attention to it. I gave him the phone numbers. He set himself up at the office. He called. And the first week, inherently, what we do on a Monday was figure day. You call him for your figure. It was also Monday Night Football. A bookmaking week starts on a Monday, ends on a Sunday. It's not like you do it now. So you would settle up then. It's actually a funny story how I started. So he starts betting first week, and this is significant money for that era and our age. His players win 40,000. So I was already in the Bronx and stuff. They were in Whitestone. So he'd meet me. I was on a construction site. I would come up and then run my restaurant at night. I picked up the 40,000. I gave it to him, paid his players. Next week, now these figures may not be exact. It might have been 37. It might have been 42. I tell the story often. It might be off a little bit, but it's pretty much accurate. Second week comes. I think he won 27,000. So at this point, I pick it up, I give it to him. So he's 67,000 in the red until his players lose that. He's not earning any money. The office is not earning any money, and they're out of pocket around 67,000. Let's call it 70 for argument's sake, so we can round it off. Third week comes around. I call, I get the figures, and I think he lost 90,000, something in that background, because I remember the office had made a profit. So they get back their 70,000. He makes approximately 10. They make 10. Life goes on. But my friend never calls me to come pick up the money. So Monday goes by, Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by, Thursday goes by, Friday goes by, Saturday goes by. I'm looking for him everywhere. I remember the year because I just bought my nephew a 1980 280ZX, Coral and Company. It was a stick shift. So I drive to his house. He's not there. I go to his girlfriend's house. He doesn't realize it's me. He opens the door. I didn't put the thing in gear. I pulled the emergency brake. And I says to him, pal, I says, I've been looking for you. I says, I brought you all this money, and it's time to pay. Instead of making an excuse or try, it's this. I thought these are the big guys. They're supposed to work with us. I go to lunge at him because now I know I'm on the hook for this $90,000. I'm like in shock, but I see the car rolling, and it was a secondary street rolling into a major thoroughfare with cars coming both ways. So I run down the hill, and I dive in the window. I hit the brake. I'm a little exasperated. My heart is beating. I just said, let me deal with this later. I'll drive away. I'm very, very aggravated, but I was happy to save the car. So he calls me the next day. I go to his house, his mother's house, who's a young man, and he's downstairs, and he has one of these ball and cap guns. I don't know if he could kill himself. When he said he's thinking about killing himself, I said, don't do that. Tell me what happened. He says, I bet on the numbers. He says, oh, Christ, what are we going to do? Now the office is calling me, what's going on, whatever. So I make an appointment. I go down, and I says, listen, we have a situation. I can't give my friend up because these are the problems that you have gambling. Then when you win a lot of money, you lose, you have nothing. If you lose a lot, everything's negotiable. It's paper. So I says, listen, I'm going to tell you straight up. I made the bets, and I screwed up. Guy says to me very sternly, he says, you come from good stock. Do you have players, or it's all you? So here we have some players. He said, I suggest that, you work this off. We'll put it on the side. If you want to split money when you make it, tell me how much we're all smelling. You're going to get some money back. I give you the word. So I go back upstate. I speak to the fellow. I says, listen, you're in a hole here. You got to work this out. It's costing me 40 out of my pocket. I did you a favor. He says, he swears on his mother. He swears on everybody. The thing with a degenerate gambler is you don't see him coming. They can wipe you out. A person with an alcohol and drug addiction, you see it. With a gambler, they're charismatic, they're good, they're happy, they're high energy, and they can run through your money like nobody's business if they have a problem. And that's always been the problem with gambling, the addictive gene. So everything's fine. Back and forth. You get out of the hole, the money gets paid back, everybody's happy. For the 40,000, I didn't get it. He made me a partner. That's terrific. Now going forward, I'm a partner in the sports operation. We're starting to make money. I I called. I was on the construction site. How did it read? They lose around 90 some thousand. I remember it to be 98 or something close to that. Every time I tell the story, there's a variation. It's been a long time, the chronological order. But I remember there was like, okay, we paid the office 45. We got 45 coming to us. That's around 20 some thousand. What did I do? This is great. Why did I get involved with this sooner? Sure enough, Monday comes by, Tuesday comes by, Wednesday comes by, calls me again. I go there, same scenario. I says, pal, I says, what did you do? He says, Chris, not only that, he says, I said, so we owe the office 45,000, thank God we're out of the red. It would have been 90. He says, no, it's 45 plus, I think, almost another 30 because the players that were real won. I says, oh, Christ. I said, well, I got to pay the players. We have nothing. And I go out, I borrow the money. I give it to him. Now I'm still stuck in this business for 70,000. I've been in it for a while, and I'm not seeing daylight. I'm saying, why would anybody want to do this? I go to the office. I explained to them the players won. I said, I gambled again. And they says, Chris, we have recordings. We record the conversation. We know it's not you making the bets. Do you have a partner or a friend or a family relative that's doing this? That's why we were lenient the first time. We never heard your voice. When they call in, we know it's the same voice. He says, I suggest you take control of the business or get out of it after you pay us off. He says, out of the 45, as they said to me, he says, it's all paper. We didn't lay anything out. You paid back what we laid out. If you just want to get out now, I said, well, I got 70 of my own money invested. Some of that money I gave you was mine. I said, all right, here's what we'll do. Move forward, but take control of your office. There's some good players in there. So they coached me, they counseled me, they advised me. So I started taking care of myself, but I didn't know how to run an office. It's a very complex thing. It's a very skilled profession. And there's a lot of mathematics. You have to have an understanding of math, understanding of everything. It's a business. And one of my philosophies was I handle it as a business. And I used to tell people, bet what you had and your means not above it. If it costs you a vacation or a new pair of shoes, you can. I'm not interested in a lot of money. Like the recreation gambler, and I don't want to cause any bad karma for anyone or aggravation. So that falls sort of hitting people and shaking them down and burying them is really a falsehood. Are there people that have done that? Yes. On a whole, it's the cardinal rule of bookmaking in business. It's not a violence situation. And it's actually a victimless crime, in my opinion, unless you do it improperly, then anything can be a victim crime. So what had happened is my partner ended up easing out because he never stopped misappropriating. He had a gambling disease. I loved him, but I couldn't deal with it no more. And I went on to be and open an office. And two of the offices I opened, I went bankrupt because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just learning. And people could take your eyes out. The house always starts to win. It's not the case. So, you remember the bad ones. Like when you play poker, you don't remember the big hands you got, but the ones you get the bad beats. And I got a lot of bad beats on people that knew what they were doing. I was more aggressive, took more than I should have. And I just thought because people that bet 100 would lose, so people that bet 1,000 have to lose too. Not the case. And I have that insight. I have the pains of knowing and doing. And to be a successful bookmaker, and I would take up to 100,000 a game. You have to know what you're doing because people that bet that kind of money could put your lights on. And I mean, seriously. And I never look back. I've taken action from a lot of sports celebrities, politicians, law enforcement, federal employees, you name it, I took it from. I had a very good reputation. The money was good. There was never any violence, and I run a class operation, which I always set out to do and tried to do. And I never looked back. So a lot of what you're going to hear from me is things that you don't see. And I did make the transition to the computer era. Part of the software that's being used now, I developed, couldn't patent it because how do you patent something on an illegal business? So basically, I helped give the technology that inevitably put me out of business. But it was time. It was time. But I can give you the insight to where our bookmaker's weaknesses are, his strength is, or her strength. I could show you what's the smart plays, what to stay away from, but it's your decision at the end of the day. And you will see there's logic, reasoning, and a very good reason to do what you do. And with legalized gambling, there's the risk of losing a lot. So if I can extend your enjoyment of the game or not hurt your finances or increase the shot to win, and maybe even come up with your own concepts, because I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. You have your own minds. Don't be afraid to use them or express them. And that's what we're doing with this show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I enjoyed it immensely. Gambling is terrific, and I think we're going to get it. We're going to have a good season each season. Once again, welcome to Taking Action. I am Chris Colombo, and you are part of this. Thank you. I'm going to leave you for a short period of time, and I'll be back. Welcome back to Taking Action with Chris Colombo. I'd like to introduce one of my dearest, longest, smartest, successful, brilliant friends, Mr. Abe Hoak.
Hello, Chris.
Abe, how good
How
to
are
see
you? And nice to see you too. I love the way you pronounce Colombo. You really got it right then.
I got to tell you, it took a lot of work for me.
How you been, kiddo?
I've had better years. Matter of fact, I've had better decades, but it's looking bright now.
But look at you. You're happy. You're healthy. You're free. How bad could it
Free
be?
is a big one.
I understand.
Free is a big one. Abe, not for nothing. Most, you've handled some of the world's greatest actors, I would say. Is that correct?
I don't know if I've handled some of the world. I've been very
Famous
fortunate.
actors?
I'll give you a recap. I've been lucky to get a 55-year run in show business. So, I've run everything from running Led Zeppelin's company for a bunch of years. I ran Motown with Suzanne DePass for a bunch of years. I got to manage some really great music artists for a lot of years. And for the last 15, 20, 25, been fortunate enough to represent some wonderful George Siegel, David McCallum, Taye Diggs, Adam Rodriguez, Jay Harrington. I've had a really great run of clients that have done wonderful work. So I've been a lucky guy.
And you give back. You give back.
Well, I don't know that I give back basically because I'm a committed person.
I almost got committed once.
Oh, I understand. I heard that. I heard you've been committed a couple of times.
Abe, why is it your actors get enemies at Ox? Because I made a TV show and I got penitentiary time.
We get different looks at stuff, Chris. We actually go into these jobs as employees. You go into these jobs as a ringmaster. We're not ringmasters. We're just subjects. So they go in, they do a good day's work, they get paid for a good day's work, and every now and then somebody rewards them for it. So it's kind of been fun. What penitentiary time did you? Oh, I remember when you did the television show.
Yeah,
it was fun, man.
Right up until the point they slammed the gate in solitary.
Yeah. That's the bad part about telling your life on television, buddy.
I told my life. It was a spoof. It was fun. It was a docu-comedy. I gotta tell you something. Sometimes the federal government does not have social graces, and they can improve their sense of humor just a tad.
I'm sorry, but look at you. Like I said, you look good. You're healthy. You're well. You're home. You're free. Couldn't be any better.
I had a lot of battles with my health. I had a lot of battles with my freedom, but I always maintain to keep a sense of humor. Medicine for the soul, I say.
Well, you're one of the truly good guys. I've known you for 30 years, and I've only known a lot of fun, a little bizarre, a little different, but I've only known really great time. Never boring. Never boring.
I'm gonna stop doing it.
I don't know if your audience cares. I'm gonna tell them my first meeting with you. I got to know you because we were friends. Kevin McElhenney, Chris Gambale, and I were friends. And Chris's father, Joe, had worked for your dad. And I think his nickname was Joe Smash, right?
Yes.
And I don't exactly know what he did for your dad, but we were all friends. And I remember Chris referred to you as his cousin, and he said, you ought to meet my cousin, Chris. So one night in New York, you called me and you said, why don't you come over? We're having dinner.
Birthday.
It was a Chinese restaurant.
Billy Hans.
Marla
Maples was there with us.
10:30 at night. And you said, come over. And my ex-wife, Lee, and I said to her, let's go. We're going to go. She goes, what are you talking about? Every place in New York is closed. And I said, he said to come over. We're going to go over. We got
They
in a
just open up.
car. We went over to this place, knocked on the door, and a fellow answered. He said, "We're closed." And I said, "We're with," and he said, "Oh, you're with those guys." And we walked in, and there were about 11 or 12 of you, and you look like a Nike commercial. You're all wearing sweatsuits. And I thought to myself, wow, this is some group. And we sat down, and you treated us like royalty,
You are
absolute,
with my
absolute
friend.
royalty. And it was an interesting first meeting. And then I had to go back and explain to my
It was your
wife.
50th birthday, if I remember correct.
It was. I had
You
to
got the
explain to
party,
my
I got
wife.
the check, 5,600. I remember it clearly.
I explained to my wife. She said, "Why do you know these guys?" And I said, "God knows, but I really enjoyed tonight." And it was just, it's been going like that for the last, I'm 70, I'll be 77 for the last 27 years, Chris.
Yes. I remember flying out for your 65th birthday.
You
They got
did.
it
You came,
attached.
you came out for my 65th, and I had all my clients at a wonderful birthday. And I remember distinctly, George Siegel came up to me and he said, nervously, he said, are we in business with and I went, no, 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 they're just my friends. He looked terrified. All the blood had drained from his body, you know.
Yeah,
But you were wonderful.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I tortured him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was a wonderful actor. I miss him tremendously. He's a
Wonderful person. I loved him too.
wonderful person, wonderful actor, and
I think he felt differently about me when I knew the lines from all his movies.
you probably know a lot of lines from a lot of people's movies. I've always found that fascinating. You're very racontorial, Chris Colombo. You know a lot about a lot.
Yeah. I know that.
Meanwhile, what can I tell you about show business you want to know?
Well, you're the expert there. You're the man behind the curtain. People don't realize how effective a manager and a good one is in an actor's life because it's a tumultuous life. It's peaks and valleys and sometimes hardships with blood, sweat, and tears. And a guy like Abe has been behind his clients. Some of them think of him as a father, a mentor. There's an intrinsic value for the things he does. Matter of fact, my short stint as an actor, if I required a manager, it would be Abe. Trust me. Yeah, these are I'm not throwing roses at you. I'm telling the truth.
I tell everybody, if you have a choice between getting an agent or a manager, go get a manager because
Yes,
they're like the CEO of the company. And I asked a question when I was teaching class. I asked a question to a bunch of students, and I said, "What's the most important part of a crossword puzzle? I'm sorry, jigsaw puzzle?" And not one of them had the answer. The only person that's ever answered it correctly was a 12-year-old girl. She said the box, because without the box, you have no idea what those disparate pieces are. And
yes.
so when you have a manager, the manager's perspective is to basically know
But
what the
I believe
picture is supposed to look like and how to put the pieces together so as to make the picture come together. Nobody else does that. And all of the other players, whether it's an agent or a publicist, they're all parts of the puzzle. But managers have to have a basic perspective of what the picture should look like. So I always say, go get a manager, and if you got one that has any vision whatsoever, stick with that, stay with that, roll with that for as long as you can, and good things will happen to you.
Now you
So
could
much,
look
so much for my show
on the
business.
term a hell of a stable. Paula Abdul, Randy Jackson, John Larroquette, Adam Rodriguez. Is my favorite. I love him. He's grown up here with you.
You threw John Larroquette in, who's a friend, but unfortunately not a client, but it was very nice.
Yeah, I thought he was.
No, but a good
Andy
guy.
Jackson.
Yeah.
And we know Led Zeppelin changed rock and roll music forever. Their unique approach to it. They were probably the premier rock and roll band for what 20 years, Abe?
Well, they're still the premier, right? If you go down the list of who the greatest rock and roll bands are, they'd probably be at the top of the heap of rock and roll bands. We've just had a chance to spend, my wife and I Tony had a chance to spend a couple of days with Robert Plant because he's out touring with Alison Krauss, and we started reminiscing. And we go back 50 years, and of all of the things I've done, I've never ever seen anything so still relevant as Led Zeppelin, because
Paramount. Still Paramount.
everybody that finds out that I had any involvement, much less having run their record company, wants a story. They want to hear about it because it's a tent pole in their life. And no matter what, I don't care whether you're 6 or 60 or 70, you've been touched by them in one way or another, either through a parent, a grandparent,
Stairway
personally.
to Heaven ended every school dance there was.
That's right.
And who could sing a song for 19 minutes, a romantic song, and keep people's attention? What a rock and roll genre. They were no doubt terrific.
Well, it was a great experience for me.
Very few people in the world can walk the line between entertainment and business, and you've always been able to do that. There's always been that obstruction. And I think that's where you've made a creative and a business merge together that makes sense.
Well, what you really have to have is an appreciation for the craft. You have to have, when I was in the music business, I couldn't have enjoyed it any more than I got in when I was, 19 years old, and it was in the 60s, and it was, a time when nobody made money with it. It was all about the music. And I was just like anybody else, appreciative of the art form, and to this day still appreciate the art form. So I love the craft. I love musicians. I love the music. I love the music at the time, and somehow transition that to the television and film business. When I saw Rent, it was still about music. Signed Idina Menzel, signed Taye Diggs, and all of a sudden found myself in the television and motion picture business. But always as half a fan. I had to be a fan of the people that I was working for and working with, and I had to enjoy what it was that they did. So, that was sort of my luck. And as my wife says, I somehow managed to Forrest Gump my way through 55 years and be at the nexus of some great moments, lucky me.
Great moments.
Yeah, lucky.
And I've been a part of a lot of them, but you always maintain a sense of humor, a sense of dignity, and you always be able to read people.
Well, thanks.
Do you remember when you invited me to dinner, told me to pick the restaurant, and you had Ryan Seacrest as CEO, who was his agent first, and then
Well, there's a guy named
funny
Adam
story.
Scher. Yeah,
we go to
Ryan.
Rothman Steakhouse. I recommended it.
That's right.
And he was a fine young man. We were talking with Ryan over the phone, and you were making a deal for some Korean TV show, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, Adam's had a great career. Adam Scher and Ryan's had certainly a super career, but Adam is now the president of ITV America, and he has The Voice on the air amongst a bunch of other shows. So he's done really
remember
well.
The dinner I'm talking about?
Yes,
you scared the
crowd.
I was at this dinner. So what happens was Adam says that he just had a young baby and whatever. So I said to the young lady I'm with, the FAO Schwartz, sent his wife in Chicago. I believe he was from Chicago, correct?
Right.
Sent all beautiful toys. I couldn't figure out why I'm at this meeting. So finally, Abe comes down to negotiations, which he's very good at. So he says, we talked about 10 or 15%. I'm thinking 20 or 25. He says, why 20 or 25? He said, well, Chris is here. Oh, I can see that. So Abe got the 20 or 25. The kids got the toys, and I got the check, as usual. That's why you're Abe Hoak.
Well, listen, to this day, Adam still has an innate fear of saying, well, I hope I don't say the wrong thing in Chris's presence. So, it was a good time, and he enjoyed meeting you, and we speak about it quite often.
And I wish him all the luck in the world.
He's done, like I said, very well.
I hope he has more.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any stories you want to share?
Well, I have a lot of stories about you. Is this what we're talking about? Is you, or are we talking about me? I'm happy to talk about you, dear.
But we were there with you.
Tell me about taking action.
There that I know how to pick a friend and a quality friend. Your years were not always the greatest.
No, I started off not the greatest because I was born in a DP camp in Germany. My mom was an Auschwitz survivor. And so when I came to America, I came to America in 1949 as a DP camp kid. And I ended up, you know, uh, living in Brooklyn, and which was a great place to live. But I ended up leaving home when I was 17. So when you leave home at 17 and you don't have either a high school or a college education, you're pretty much left to forage on your own. And I was fortunate enough to constantly run into people that were smart and were able to teach me things, and you know, and by accident, by the time I drifted into the music business by accident because I came out to Los Angeles to get away from some tough times. And a friend of mine wrote a song, and so he asked me to go out and try to get him a record deal. And subsequently, I turned that into a 55-year career doing what I really love doing. But for a bunch of years, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, you lived on picking cotto seeds out of salami and hoping you could pay your rent.
Abe, people have heard about the horrors of Auschwitz. You were in the womb during them. And
Yeah, I only know it from the second person, being the child of a survivor. And
it's very rarely today you get to talk to somebody that your mom started her life in Auschwitz with you. And that's why I've always felt you're one of God's chosen people.
thank you.
God guy. And
Well, I feel the same way.
yes, I do also. And we never spoke about that till this time right now.
No,
I knew the story, but I never spoke about it. And when I had heard the story, it was one of the reasons why I invited you that night to that dinner.
oh,
And I like sports, and the best teams always come from behind. And I don't think you were an odds-on favorite, and the odds were long against you. And
well,
horrific tragedies that people went through was how you started life.
well, let's just
And
say
I'd like
this.
to hail your mom, your dad, and yourself for that.
Well, let's just say this. Let's just say that there was a time, once upon a time, where if you were entrepreneurial and you wanted to make something of yourself and wasn't so dependent on college or not. I don't want to poo-poo college educations, but you could do an awful lot by being a go-getter. And I was fortunate enough, like I said, to meet some unbelievable people who were smart and tutorial and helpful, and I fell into the right crowd. The other thing is just as a word of advice, what I tell clients all the time is get in line, stay in line, keep doing what you believe that you should be doing, and ultimately, guy comes, taps you on the shoulder and says, "Chris Colombo, come on down," or "Abe Hock, come on down," and that's your opportunity to do something. And what you do with that opportunity is down to you. So I got a chance to have somebody tap me on the shoulder and say, "Come on down," and I took advantage of the opportunity and just kind of stayed in line for the last 50 years, and here we are. I'm on the Taking Action podcast.
Say
Look at how
that
my
you're
career has evolved.
entertain millions of people.
Right, and here I am on the Taking Action podcast. This is my career.
And don't laugh.
The
About
highlight.
3 weeks and 4 weeks, you're going to be saying, "Can I come back on?"
No, I like being on. I love talking to you. I mean, I'm hoping that you ask me back, and I get to come back with some of my clients and or friends. I hope your podcast goes through the roof, and everybody gets to know what a good guy you are.
Can I share something with you?
Sure.
Everybody was up on the younger generation. My career was bookmaking. I loved it. I've said it before. Who doesn't
What?
want to?
Wait,
What?
you were a criminal? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But what's vice today is commerce tomorrow.
That's right.
When the government does it, it's commerce. When I'm doing it's crime.
So you go on. You were sharing.
And I know more about it than they do. And I see my kids and other young people betting, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what the house is like. And you think the house always wins? It doesn't. From what I learned from it, if I could show them, because there is the addictive gene in there, and now that they've made it legal, you have a shot to really hurt a lot of people. So if I can make their longevity and make them smarter and enjoy it and understand and not get hurt just out of that addictive gene or marketing, I think I'm doing something. Like yourself, I'd like to share with the world my blood, sweat, and tears so they don't have to have as many.
Mm.
Also, teach them to be more happy. And everybody says the younger generation doesn't know this, doesn't know that. I think the older generation dropped the ball by not felicitating them, taking the time with them, not judging them, which you have never done. That's why your actors at whatever age have always been happy with you. It's almost been like a family unit, and that's the way I conduct myself.
Well, if you remember at my birthday, somebody made a speech and they said, if you lived under my umbrella, you'd always know that nothing could ever hurt you. And
No.
that as long as you were under that umbrella, I was going to make sure that nothing bad happened to you. This is not so different from your life, Chris, because people that were under your umbrella also had to feel like nothing could hurt them and that you were going to take care of them. So we're very similar in that manner.
We share a love for the Kansas City Chiefs, no doubt.
You bet.
A franchise, Mahomes. You want to receive a
Travis Kelce, yes.
Yes.
My friend Travis Kelce.
Right, yeah. So anyway, long story short, I felt so bad. Abe and his wife are very big Kansas City Chief fans.
Seasons ticket holders, Founders Club members.
Yeah. And he asked me what my opinion was, and I says they're going to lose the championship game. I would believe it was to the Patriots. And I think that particular year, I know a little bit about sports. Both his guards were out. Mahomes played the game of his life. Matter of fact, behind the lines, he ran 500 yards. They were chasing him. When I told this to Abe, he got mad at me. This is one of the reasons for this show. You know, people may not always agree with you, but the smart money was on New England, but the loyal, loving money, and Mahomes, by far, is one of the most charismatic leaders we have today in sports.
How do you feel? Wait. How do you feel about this season? You got any predictions for this season?
You're going to get them right here.
When?
Pal, the season didn't start yet. Can I find out at least who's the starting quarterback? Kind of important. So anyway,
I can tell you who the starting quarterback for Kansas City is. Right now, I can
don't jinx him. Wait till they announce him. Don't jinx him. We're very superstitious as gamblers. So then again, the Super Bowl, they lost too. I had told you they weren't going to win, and you got very, very upset with me.
Wait, they won.
No, they lost one.
In any event, I mean, is this the nature of? So I don't know much about taking action. The show. Is it going to be about giving tips and talking about taking action?
I'm going to educate people how to bet, tell them things they don't understand or know, things that the sports book are not advertising, pitfalls, troubles, and basically I'm going to give them the knowledge. Unless you were a bookmaker and see it and know who the smart players are and where the weaknesses in the lines are. Remember, a bookmaker sets 100 lines. There's got to be imperfections whether a computer does it or not. And the only power a bookmaker has is to adjust those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the right time in the right circumstances, you kick their teeth in. Myself, you have to have a bankroll to be a bookmaker. I went bankrupt twice. You say there's people that don't win, there's people that never lose. And I can give you the insight and their procedures and the way they look at it as a science and a business. So the element of Tony, you're going to bet the Kansas City Chiefs whether they could win or can't win. So you thought I was jinxing you. I was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, when the New York Yankees had their run, and they're going to have it again, I'm a Yankee fan. So even though I was losing because I'm from New York, a lot of money, you know, there was a bittersweet that the Yankees won.
Sure. You know, if you go into my
show, is not that they've legalized gambling, the bettor has not been educated. And the information I have and I maintain and love to share, and I love bookmaking. It was the greatest life in the world. So I like athletes. I was an athlete. And tell the truth, wouldn't you like to be Mahomes?
Oh my God! Listen, if I could get out of the
management, you can't be Mahomes. You want to own the Chiefs.
I love
the Chiefs.
I like to represent. I like to manage an athlete, any one athlete. Listen, if you're listening out there and you're an athlete, you're looking for representation, I'm your guy. I'd love to be in that business.
And don't worry, I'll make sure people bet on you the right line. But that's not the point. The point is everybody loves an athlete and a superstar. And that's why people get so not addicted, compelled to gamble. you feel that game is for you. I am part of it. You had to have a connection to the home, the offensive line, the kicker, the punter, the coach. Good verbiage, good, clean fun.
Yeah.
You
It's going
know,
to be fun watching your shows. Am I going to be the only guy with a history of show business that's coming
no,
on your show? No.
no, I don't want to announce it before it comes. We have a very interesting lineup. I had told you that I had wanted to do this for a while, and I wanted you to be my first guest. This is not.
I'm flattered by that. I can't even tell you. I'm totally flattered by that.
And we're going to have a lot more fun.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Abe,
Listen,
I'd like to thank you for especially the contribution you've made to music, the contribution you've made to the people you've touched, entertainment, and especially not entertainment. I hail you for your strength, where you came from, and a lot of heartaches you've been through. I know even more of them. And I don't think God ever made a finer human being or a finer manager. Maybe Tony. That's it.
what a nice thing to say. I appreciate your having me on and letting me be a first guest. You know, I got to do this once before. I'd spent a lot of years in the business, and in all the years, this is only the third time I've said yes to this sort of stuff, but I wouldn't have thought about saying no to you under any circumstances. But as you know, Chris,
Yes.
you'll understand this. You owe me one, buddy. I want to have one time in my life.
Hey, watch this. I don't owe you anything. I'd give you anything you want anytime you can.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it'd be my honor to go out of my way for you.
I just had to say it. I
Sure.
have to say it. I have to say it. You owe me one, buddy.
All right, I owe you two.
All right.
One for you, one for Tony.
Thank you, pal. So I'm gonna get out of here, man. I'm gonna tell you I love you. I'm gonna continue to be there for you, and I'll see you soon.
To be continued.
To be continued. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you, Abe. It was a pleasure having you, even though maybe you should watch the show a little more because you're not a very good gambler. And hopefully we can improve that. And that's the purpose of the show. I'd like to get into a little bit about sports betting and taking the action, which is the name of our show, and bookmaking. Okay. The action is addictive. I love the action. I couldn't get enough action. But I had to monitor it, I had to tailor it, and I had to make sure that I didn't overwhelm myself with it. Even though the feeling, the exhilaration is fantastic. There's no greater high, in my opinion. In my 10-year of bookmaking, the government, in my case, I faced life imprisonment for being the bookmaker. And I took the action from other bookmakers, and eventually other bookmakers were happy coming to me. They made more on their 50% than they could themselves. And so my philosophies do work, and I know they work now because the computer doesn't understand the human element and other things. And there's factors. There's 17 lines that make an NFL game. My depicted by 34 to 36. So before I make a bet, everything has to be in my favor before kickoff. What happens after that, I can't tell you. For instance, the Buffalo Bills, when they're playing the Giants in the Super Bowl, they were there 4 times. They lost. Freak things do happen. They only have to do is kick a chip shot field goal. A helicopter comes down to take the picture, thinks going to win and blows the ball that way. To lose a Super Bowl that way is heart-wrenching. You've seen it, sometimes bad coaching. The Seattle Seahawks against the Patriots. You have Marshawn Lynch. It's 1st and goal on the 6-inch yard line. You choose not to run Marshawn Lynch. I don't know why. You throw on the over the middle, short of the goal line. Interception, run back, end of story. Heart-wrenching. You saw it with the Atlanta Falcons. They were up so much. They played too conservatively. They were kissing the trophy. And, you can't give Tom Brady even this much because he is a surgeon on the football field. There's no doubt in my mind he's the greatest quarterback that ever lived. I think Peyton Manning is the smartest quarterback that ever lived. There's a lot of great quarterbacks in the league. They're being shifted around. There's a lot of opportunities. The line is inflated, which means because of them, it's too high. I'd like to take the points. I'd like to take the money. We're in baseball season right now. We used to have two lines. One we called the sucker line, which was the 50-cent line. So you would see 6-7. If you played with the favorite, you would lay 70 to every 50. If you took with the dog, you got 60 to every 50. And all the bookmaker in baseball makes is one side of it. In football, it's 110 either way. So they make 10%, 5% of the gross. So the bookmaker makes no matter who loses or wins. Baseball, that's not the case unless it's a straight run line. And then both sides can win, push, or lose. Or you can get middle or sided, so you have to book in. So there'll be middles and sides that we'll be looking for. There'll be times we'll buy our bets back, and there'll be times we hit it again. Those are the things I can give you and afford to you. And this is what I do. This is what I know how to do, and I can now speak of it. The smart line in baseball was called the pitcher line, the dime line, or the wise guy line. In my world, the wise guy is the one that gets the best of it. At the end of the year, he's counting your money. Kind of like Arnold Rothstein, who was a real guy, and he did change what he bet in the movie Casino all over the country. When I made a bet, I changed the line in Vegas, Islands, and New York. There is no more New York line, which is the sharpest line. That was the one that the bookmakers adjusted. We got more information. We paid attention. We paid attention to the smarter people. There's hockey. There's basketball. There's college basketball, college football. MMA has become a big sport that people like to bet on. I don't know much about that, but I will have an expert sitting next to me to guide us through. And I'm looking forward to the interaction of what you have to say, because life is perspective. And the absolute truth of what's right may be here, I may be here. You may say something here, God, bring me right to where it is, or vice versa. That is the purpose of this show, to understand gambling, understand how it works, understand how the line works. Back to the dime line. Dime line is, let's say the Yankees are playing Atlanta. If you see the line next to it, the team on the bottom is always the home team. Team with the number next to it is the favorite. That means you lay with them. One above it, you would take. So if you would see Yankees 180, that's inherently the pitcher line, the sharp line, the dime line, breaks on 10 cents or 10%, or the wise guy line. That is the one you want to bet. They're tilting the odds a little bit against you to protect themselves, because baseball is one of the longest season sports. It's every day, multiple teams, and it doesn't matter who wins or loses the game. You can make it with the money line. I like to take in those times. Like Cole is a fantastic pitcher. His line is always inflated. I like to go when he loses, even though I am a Yankee fan. Because to bet 100 and get back 250 is better than placing 100 to pay 250 if you lose. You lose with 100 taking it, you only pay 100. But you got a shot to make 253, 1,000, 3,500, 10,000, 35,000. So it's applicable at every level. The spread should be 10 cents. What I don't like what I see is they'll show you the line next to it. So when you put the bet in, if you put it 100, it'll say win 180. That'll be you put your money up. So it would say 280. Follow me? Because you cash up on these things, then your money's going up. Be 100 plus the 180 you win. When it goes the other way, because it's the dime line, if you put 100, you're supposed to get back 270. 100 to get $270. Okay. The line they think I'm seeing 25, 30, and 40 point spreads percentage on the money line. That's not really completely fair, but inherently the wise guy, there was a group called the Kosher Boys, the poker players. They would take that line, and just when you thought a big team like the Yankees was going down with the best pitcher, and you were finally going to make a payday, they'd come in and take that, and it hurt you. So we're going to talk about that later. It's only supposed to be a 10% spread. You go to 200, it goes to 20% spread, 300, 30%. They're charging 30 to 50% on $100. It may not sound like a lot. What's the difference? You add it up over all those weeks of betting, you have less than a 0.03% shot of becoming a winner by the end of the year or season. So I'm going to make you aware of that. Not only that, one of the best bets in baseball is a parlay, because when you're taking money rather than laying it, it's exponential. and we'll go into that. And this is our first segment. This is our for lack of a better term, our virgin episode, our maiden episode. I hope you stay with me. I tell you, it'll never be boring. My guests are probably some of the most interesting people. My life stories are significant. It's brought me to many areas in life that people usually haven't been. A lot bad, a lot very good. I've made dear friends along the way, and I'd like to share that with you. It's not going to be just about sports and taking action. It's going to be life lessons and how to avoid pitfalls in every areas and maximizing the good ones. So I think I can provide that service for the younger generation. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm happy to be with you. And thank you for watching Taking Action. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Our next episode, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be familiarizing yourself with the lines and how to bet and what's affordable and available to you, and how to maximize that for you. This show is about you, not me. I mean, I feel good. There's an intrinsic value that I'm passing on. What I've learned, like a professor teaches somebody and they go on and they cure cancer. I mean, I'm not that person. I wish I was. I hail those that do. But at this point, if I can save you money or make you not learn by hard knocks, that's what I'm here to do. And if we can laugh and have a good time doing it, what's better? Good luck to everybody this season. I'd just like to thank everybody. I am the person you see on Taking Action. There's been a lot of people behind it supporting us. One is Robert Matricano, my adopted nephew. He's done a lot of this show. We work together in the finance field. This is Anthony Conover, young man, very smart from Walk Hill, New York. He's got a bright future. He's also head of media for the Renegades, a team owned by the Yankees. I'm a big fan. And we have our friend Andy here, who is not only been corporate America for the entertainment business, and you may not realize that, you know, behind the scenes, he's touched each and one of you with some serious and also funny and interesting TV shows, documentary, you name it, he's done it. I'm glad to have him with us. We have Kevin McElwain. Kevin, one of my oldest and dearest friends. This is our first business venture together. This is our team. We're here working for you. There's also a research team that's going to be helping us. So I want you to know this is not about Chris Colombo. It's about us helping you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate this. Thank you for everything.